Hi, Junior 6, hope you're live and kicking, okay? Today with a new lesson, as usual, okay? We're gonna work on weekend sheet 5, okay? As I told you before, Junior 6, you have to study specific items in order to answer this sheet. Concerning this week, okay, you should study Unit 3, Lesson 1. Concerning the grammar, you should study past simple versus past continuous with while and when, plus comprehensive questions on all the grammatical items that were studied till now. And the writing, you were supposed to write a film review about Zootopia, okay? The first question that we have here is the reading comprehension. Again and again, Junior 6, you have to read the questions first before you start reading the text itself, okay? After reading the questions will give you a hint about what's the text about. So here, the first question says, where did Peter go with his family? So I have someone who's called Peter, and he went with his family to a place. Why did Peter think that fish were boring? The third question, what did Peter notice when they reached the building? Okay, then I have a choices question and finding specific things from the text itself. So let's start by reading the text. So we finished reading the questions, then we're gonna read the text itself. It says, Peter and the dragon. Do I have to go, Mom? Peter asked the question for the fourth time. Peter, his mother said quietly, we've planned this for weeks. I thought you were looking forward to it. But fish are boring, Mom. Peter was complaining about the family's trip to a nearby aquarium. Why can't I just stay home and watch Sam swim? He pointed to his pet goldfish swimming lazily in a glass pool. Peter, Sam is just one goldfish. You will see much more than that at the aquarium. Peter could tell his mother was becoming impatient. He sighed loudly and joined his sister Sarah in the back seat of the car. A short time later, the family pulled into the busy parking lot around the aquarium. Peter tried to look bored as they approached the main building, but he was starting to feel the excitement of the crowd around him. As they reached the building, he noticed a banner hanging over the entrance. He looked closely and read the words, Dragons of the Deep. Dragons, Sarah exclaimed. Do you think they will be scary? Of course not, said her father. Wait until you see what they really look like. Peter and Sarah followed their parents into the building. The air inside was cool and the only light seemed to come from the blue water in the huge fish tanks. Peter looked in the first tank. At first glance, it appeared to be filled with leafy seaweed. Suddenly, a long piece broke off from the rest and floated upward. Peter moved closer and noticed a dark and a horse-shaped head. It isn't seaweed at all, he said. It's an animal. Peter and Sarah were amazed as they watched more of the interesting creatures move about the tank. Their bodies were covered with leaf-like parts that floated outward, often making them difficult to see among the plants in the tank. They are called sea dragons, his mother explained. They live in the ocean near Australia. The family watched the strange fish a little longer, and then Peter tugged at his father's hand. Come on, Dad, he pleaded. Let's see the rest of the fish. Wait a minute, laughed his mother. I thought fish were boring. Peter felt ashamed when his mother repeated his earlier words. I'm sorry, Mom, he apologized. I was wrong, the place is really great. So where did Peter go with his family? As you can see, we're gonna say Peter went to the aquarium with his family. It's the underlined part here. And as I advised you before, never answer a question without referring back to the text. Then, why did Peter think that fish were boring? Because they were just lying lazily in his, for example, here, he has a goldfish and it was just swimming lazily in a glass pool. So he thought that all the fish will do the same, will just swim lazily in a glass pool. So there is no interest in it. Then number 3, what did Peter notice when they reached the building? It's here. As they reached the building, he noticed a banner hanging over the entrance. Then we have a choice question. The leaf-like parts on sea dragons most likely help them to what? The right answer, it should hide from danger. How did I know? Because here in the text, he says their bodies were covered with leaf-like parts that floated outward, often making them difficult to see among the plants in the tank. The following question, when Peter says, let's see the rest of the fish, it shows that he has changed his mind about the aquarium. I have two common nouns, any common nouns. You have aquarium, you have fish, you have, for example, building, you have banner, you have lots of common nouns. Then two adjectives. I have plenty of adjectives here. You can say wrong, you can say great, you can say strange, you can say ashamed, you can say leafy, and so on. Proper nouns, you've got Sarah, you've got Peter. Then the dialect. I have to read the dialect very well, all of it without answering anything at the beginning. Then you can see here, did you see the accident? And then a sentence was said. Where were you then? Then another sentence was said. Then a question, then a bus driver was driving too fast and hit a boy while he was crossing the road. Can you describe the driver? Yes, he, and so on. So bear in mind, whenever you have a dialect question, you have to focus on the tense, okay? Is it in the past, the present? If it's a present, which present, and so on. Then you have to focus whether it's a sentence or a question. Did you see the accident? So here it says, yes, I did, because the rest is a key, an evidence that this person was a witness. Where were you then? I can say, for example, I was buying some groceries. Then a question, a bus driver was driving too fast and hit a boy while he was crossing the road. So I can say, what did you see or what happened? Can you describe the driver? I can say he was in his mid-30s, for example, and I can say he was tall and skinny. Then let's recap on the vocabulary before we start. Electric, when something is electric, it causes excitement. Adventures means bold people who are not afraid of taking risks. Leisure means free. Remote means far away. Strenuous means an activity that needs lots of effort. Forecast means to tell something about the future. Adolescent means the phase of being young. You're not a child anymore. Volunteer, a person who does a work without being paid. Construction means a building. Spectators, the person who watches a game or a match. Pitch, the place in which players or on which players can play a sport such as football. Continent is a place larger than the country. I have different continents like Europe, Asia, Africa. So the first one, the what of the building hasn't started yet, the construction. Have you heard the weather forecast? Is a critical period in everyone's life, adolescent. Antarctic is the largest fifth continent. This football pitch is wet. The players can't play now. What do you like to do in your leisure time? How many what attended the match? How many spectators? Doing what activities can harm you? Doing strenuous activities. People can do risky activities. Adventurous people can help with this word. Volunteers. You need to have a car because this place is remote. The atmosphere in the party was electric. Then we have choose the right answer from here. I have be quiet, which is a key word of the present continuous. The baby is sleeping. Cows give us milk. Why give? Because this is a fact. Your sister and mad at you. I have to say here was. Your sister mad at you. Why shouldn't I say did? Because did needs an infinitive verb. My father is always kind to us, is always kind to us. Sam usually comes on time, but today he is coming late. Okay, then they space about a plan at the time being, they're thinking, because here they're considering an idea. your grandparents tonight. Of course, you know, see one of the verbs that can be in the present simple form or the continuous form, depending on the meaning. Here I mean visit or meet, so it should be in the present continuous. So are you seeing? Two friends never leave their friends behind. Prices are getting higher these days because this is a kind of change. While Sarah, while is stuck to the past continuous. So while Sarah was reading a book, it was raining. The two actions were happening at the same time. When is stuck to the past simple. When he answered correctly, his classmates clapped for him. The two actions happened and followed each other. The light went out. When the light went out, I was doing my homework. Yesterday at 9 p.m., Mom was helping me with my homework. We were out, the storm was blowing. This is past continuous, so while the storm was blowing. While my sister, I should choose the past continuous. While my sister was feeding her parrot, I finished doing my homework. Ali, lunch when the phone rang. Ali was making lunch because one action interrupted the other. He didn't visit London. When I broke my leg, I was playing football. They weren't watching TV. What were they doing at 2 yesterday? The neighbors were trying to open the door when I phoned the police. When we entered the class, the pupils were shouting. Were you having dinner at 10 o'clock? Then the questions that concern the reader, who are put in the present on the island of Saint Marguerite. I can say that only madmen and those who are mad enough to plot against the king are put on in this present. How were Hermes, Porthos, and Athos dressed when they arrived at the island? Hermes and Athos were dressed as priests, while Porthos was dressed as a boatman. Describe the man in the iron mask. You can say that he was wearing dirty and torn clothes and he had a roughly made iron mask completely covering his head. Who is Philip? He is King Louis' twin brother. Why was he put in prison? Because he was a threat to Louis. This is the first reason, and he was kept with his guardians. But when the guardians couldn't keep the secret of his identity, they were killed and Philip was put in prison. Thank you so much. I hope that the session was enjoyable for you. And see you next time, hopefully.